Welcome. This is David Bull's Human Meme. Today's topic, Outrage Fatigue. We live in a constant state of agitation. We are always yelling. We are always upset. We live in, swim in, and drink in buckets of our own cortisol and the cortisol of our friends and associates. We are always dealing with unimaginable tension that is cast upon us to break our will and batter our souls. And so, my human meme friend, I must ask you today, what have we done to deserve this sort of treatment? Is this the price we pay for freedom? Is this what a democracy feels like, when any nutcase can demand to be heard above the din of our fears and force us to take them seriously? Our current culture has no manners. We've devolved into the depths, always insulting, always fighting, always taking to social media. Not to make a better world, but to publicly air our grievances. And yes, I admit, I have fallen into that disgruntled trap of social media outrage fatigue once in a while. And yes, that whole process tired me out, and it doesn't do much good and didn't do any good for my blood pressure or my state of well-being, but sometimes the only way to be heard is to scream above the mountaintop and hope your calls for help reach beyond the horizon. Drama belongs on the stage, not in our lives. And the problem with this sort of constant outrage, manufactured fear, is that we quickly become living somnambulists, sleepwalkers, dead while we're awake, and only alive while we're dreaming. And that is no good for the generation of a generation. How can we move forward and grow and improve as a society together when we are always befuddled by constant and capricious negativity coming from the top from our leaders? And we are constantly being bombarded, and we are aching with this disingenuous outrage aimed between our eyes to kill us with a single click of the finger. And I suppose that's the point of some of all of this outrage, anger. It's their endgame in play. The endgame for those who live to fool us to get their way, and for those who want to overrun us with their cruel deceit and bad ideas. And they don't want thoughtful discussion or logic or even any sort of basic human caring. They just want the hatred. Hatred and outrage and a fury that spills out onto the streets and into bloody clashes between people. Well then, our job, as the solemn observer of this outrage, is to not take the cake, or the bait, or the weight that these outrageous purveyors want in confusion and loudness. They wish us to turn away and shut down and stop paying attention. And so, we must not do that. We cannot take the feint. We must never fall for the lie of the hand or the sly of the mind. We need to pay attention and call them out quietly and inevitably, with our own quiet faith, and win back the facts and overwhelm the negativity with a wholesome goodness that arrives within us and without us by manifest destiny. And yes, the outraged others will still yell and scream even louder, and they will foster even more hatred upon us. And we shall and we will absorb their noise and assimilate them and reckon with the world on their behalf. And we will do that because we are good. We are here and we survive. And we do it because we care about other people. And while we are upset and yearning, and hurt and wounded, we don't have to shout about it, or tell upon it, or become dramatic. We can be reasonable and assured and confident that we are right, comfortable in knowing that we have the right space to move forward beyond our dreams and into the bliss of a quiet and calm tomorrow. And yes, we shall do this, we shall overcome this, because it is our duty to our place in the world. We have fought hard to land where we stand, and we're not done moving yet. We want to always press forward into the light of tomorrow, and we are uninterested in the depths of the negativity of the past. So, when people begin to get riled up and loud and angry, don't waste your time to calm them. Just ignore them. It's their game. Allow them to be dissolved into their own hatreds. We can mop up the mess later. And yes, there will be rage and blood and a cystic corruption that explodes pus and puke into the universe. That's them dying. And that's all part of the evolution of being. We take the rotten with the ripe, and we forsake the terrible because we know the good are waiting their turn. We rule our futures with positivity and hope and determination. And we take back that mandate with patience and fortitude and force, all in the absolute knowledge that we are right. And we know that the outrageous are just simply that and completely wrong. And, my human meme friend, don't believe me. Don't believe yourself. Time and tide will define this point in history. And we will all know soon enough who was right in this escape and who was totally wrong. And you know what I know. You know that being kind and open and forward is always the right, rigid path into a proper human life. A life that brings joy to the cruel, and a life that brings comfort to the outraged. Even the fatigued need sleep, and in their dreams we will visit them. And we will offer unto them as they slumber a placid kindness and a cool understanding they never once offered to us, while they were awake and screaming. Thank you for listening. Be a Human meme.